It's been a great experience getting to know him over the years. And the one thing that I appreciate so much about him is one of the things he talks about in this book. It's never about Tony. It's never about Tony. It's never about me. Just seeing how he empowered everybody in the organization. It was really important to him that others were successful. So it wasn't about serving Tony. It was a totally different type of leadership. It was a servanthood leadership. And it's something that really made an impression on me and made an impression on the entire Indianapolis Colts organization, to the point where if you were an administrative assistant, if you were working in marketing, if you were in sales, if you were the person answering the phone, you felt good about what you were doing because of the leadership style that Tony displayed. It was always about empowering others to be the very best that they could be. Looking forward to his sharing today. There's no doubt in my mind that when you leave here from this luncheon, you'll be impacted in a positive way, because that's who he is. He's all about impacting in a positive way, and that will happen today at today's luncheon. At this point, I want to introduce our guest speaker, Tony Dungy.
During the course of my career, before I became a head coach, I was fortunate to see plenty of examples of great leadership. And I tried to learn from the people that I was around, learn from the people I saw. I learned a lot from my parents. My dad was a great leader in the household. I learned a lot from the Bible, and I think those two things kind of went hand in hand. One of the first things the Bible says, one of the first commandments with a promise is honor your father and mother, and it'll go well with you, your days will be long, and things will go well. And I think that's one of the places where we as a country, we've kind of gotten away from. Parents haven't been the greatest leaders. Kids haven't been the best listeners. And that's where you get the first ideas about leadership, really at home, measuring that effectiveness of the leadership. And that's evaluating how you're doing. Most of our society would evaluate leadership in terms of success. How many games did you win? How many Super Bowls did you win? What's your profit margin? And you can look at the record. You can look at the record here of Coach Grant and say, yeah, there was a lot of success. You could look at Coach Knowles' record and say there's a lot of success. But to me, with guys like that, the success and the record didn't even scratch the surface of the impact that they had. Because to me, significance is much more important than success. What you do, who you impact, who you help, that really tells the story of how successful you were as a leader. And I would really, really urge you to consider that. What am I doing that's really significant? Even people who really wouldn't consider themselves religious probably know a few things about King David in Israel. Young boy, went out with a slingshot, killed the giant, became the king of Israel, did some great things, led that country for 40 years. He's described as a man after God's own heart, and there's more written about David than any other king in the history of Israel. Contrast that with a guy named Jeroboam II. Unless you're a Middle Eastern history buff, you probably wouldn't even recognize that name, don't even know who he was. He reigned a little bit after David. In fact, he ruled Israel for 41 years, one more year than David. Had a lot of military successes, expanded the country's borders. There's only 7 verses written about him in the whole Bible. It says he became king at such and such age, he reigned 41 years, he was buried, and his son took over. What a difference. Jeroboam was successful, David was significant. There's a lot of guys who have coached in this game of football, a lot of guys who have won Super Bowls, but not many people who you'd say were really, really significant. We're sitting here with one. As I say, I didn't get to work for him, but I got to work for Coach Knowles. And guys like that who had an impact on people. You heard Greg Coleman talk about 10 years being with Coach Grant.
There's one office where Coach Puggett, who's our current defensive coordinator, works out of right now, there have been 3 people who've worked in that one office. First one was Coach Dungy. The second one was Mike Tomlin. And the third one was Leslie Frazier. Those 3 men have worked in one office here. And so Coach Dungy has had an opportunity to lead the Colts to the Super Bowl. Mike led the Steelers to the Super Bowl, and I have no doubt that Coach Frazier is going to lead the Minnesota Vikings to a world championship also. It took us 34 years. We came out in '77, couldn't pull it off, but we have been able to finally give you your Minnesota Vikings jersey with your University of Minnesota number on it in honor of Coach Grant and fulfill both of your dreams. So come on up.